Yes. Okay. Here we go.
Okay. Well, welcome
Tom, do you
everybody.
have me at the meeting?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
You look very comfortable.
I am. It's 2 o'clock here.
Okay.
Where are you? Southwest?
Tacoma. Tacoma.
Tacoma, Washington.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. I am, so in Emma's absence, she's not feeling well, so I'll take the secretarial notes tonight, which I can handle. And just bear with me. I have to get caught up doing that every once in a while. Otherwise, we're good to go. All right, and
Do you want Susan to do that?
no, I've got it. I've got it. Also wanted to take a moment to welcome Denny Weatherall, who is a member of the public, officially at this point in time, joining us for this meeting, which is exciting. Welcome, Denny. And so that is where we are. So we'll open the meeting. First of all, are there any changes to the agenda or questions about the agenda that anybody would like to make? In the absence of that, is there any changes or questions about the minutes from the last meeting that we had in November?
Just one tiny change at the very top and the first bullet. My last name, there's no E at the end of my last name.
Oh, okay. We will correct that. Thank you. Don't know how that sneaked in there.
Pretty sneaky.
Those sneaky.
That's you, Mary Margaret.
Okay. We'll accept a motion to approve the minutes of the November meeting.
So move.
Moved by Donna, second.
Second.
Who got the second?
Jack.
Jack, okay. All right, all in favor? All in
Aye.
favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. We'll move into the director's report.
Okay. Well, I guess we should talk about, you all just saw me signing paperwork over here in the windowsill. That was after 3 years, I finally signed a no trespass order for our resident John. I don't know if you are all familiar. We have someone who's been here 6 days a week for the last 3 years. And he has mental health issues. But we have given him every opportunity to not break the rules of the library. And there has been increasing aggression in the last month or so and destruction of property. So we had cameras placed in the front lobby and in the back stairwell. And today we caught him on the camera smoking pot in the back stairwell, lighting up. And so finally we all just agreed that enough was enough was enough.
Is this?
Yeah.
So,
So,
I came here one-ish.
yeah.
Was out there.
Oh, I don't know what they were doing out there at 1.
Still there.
Oh, that might be for the courthouse,
Yeah,
but that wasn't for here.
Yeah.
But they'll meet him outside the front door tomorrow morning before we open. And serve him with those papers.
You have to do it?
No, I don't have to do it. No, in fact, I called a little while ago to ask. And they said, we will come and we will do it tomorrow morning. You're not to confront him.
Right.
So, but it's been 3 years of every single day, 6 days a week.
Guess I'm not gonna get my $15.
You're never gonna see that again.
That's well, well, my life said.
So there is that.
new chapter had to be done.
It had to be done, had to be. So moving on from that. We passed the Sustainable Library Certification, which was great. I don't know if anybody has seen it posted anywhere, but they have been posting it far and wide. Good. Press release about that. It was a big deal. That was a lot of work went into that, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And we are the first one, only the third one in New England to have completed it.
First in Vermont.
First in Vermont, third in New England. It started in New York. So there's a lot in New York, but it's a big international program. So it's a good thing. We're glad that we've done it.
Congratulations. Because I know how hard, I've heard other folks trying to go down this road and they haven't been as successful as you have. So congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we just plugged and plugged and plugged and plugged until it was done. And that's really the only way you can finish something like this, because there's just so many action points that you have to accomplish in order to get it done.
Yeah.
Have you
A lot of-
undertaken it at all at the school library? Yeah, there's a number, not too many, but a number of school libraries and school districts that have done it or have started it, I should say. Lots of universities have started it as well.
Well done. Do you get a plaque that you get put up?
No,
You put out a plaza? Yeah,
we'll go on the website. So it'll go on the website. Yeah.
but I had a lot in the building itself where they're getting like a circulation desk or anything, just for the student website or.
We will print out a little brief about it.
Yeah.
And there's probably promotional materials that I can get from the organization that they'll send me that we can distribute.
So they don't give you a certificate of any kind?
They don't give her any type of certificate or anything, just
Not
a,
green.
just a, right.
But.
Good job from the back.
But it's something to, our library and,
Right, right.
that's great.
So, yeah,
I want everybody to know about it.
Good. Well done.
so that's done.
Are we
Um,
gonna be able to leverage that for grants or other
Grants,
things?
sure.
Just open
Yes,
doors for us?
absolutely. Absolutely, we will. Mhm.
Great, exciting.
Yeah. Yes, in fact, there was a new grant I was reading about today, which was, it was a rural library grant. And I sent it on to Michael, and it just seemed perfect for going back to the privacy pod and the automatic front door. And it just hit those targets perfectly. So when I have a chance to speak with Michael, we'll sit down and look at that grant more thoroughly. But it was for $50,000 to $100,000. So fingers crossed. Well, we'll try for that.
What, is it a state agency or nonprofit or?
I believe it's a nonprofit. It was in the every week, the Vermont Department of Libraries sends out a resource update with funding opportunities. And so you have to kind of go through it with a fine tooth comb every week so you don't miss things. And I only glanced at it briefly and shoot, I don't have time for this now, but let me send this on to Michael. So I'll go back and revisit it. But it would be so nice to get those two projects done. This library needs an automatic front door. It really just does. I don't know how we've gotten,
That door gets left open.
the door gets left open. You see people wheel up in wheelchairs and just sit there and wait for somebody to come along and open the door for them.
Yeah.
Cause you can't open that door if you're in a wheelchair. And they tell us that by putting, just an automatic button, it would create too much torque every time the button got pushed, and it would chance shattering the glass. So that's why we don't have just an automatic button to open the door. We have to reconfigure the entire front door system. So
You said it'd be sliding, right?
it would be sliding.
But it would all be glass, so.
Right, but it would have an eye on it so that when it recognized somebody approaching it, it would just slide open.
Oh, so you don't even have to press it.
No, you shouldn't have to press a button. No. But it was just a month ago that we looked out and there was somebody sitting out there on the front steps in a wheelchair and they'd wheeled themselves up the ramp. And there they sat. And it was just by chance, somebody came. Right, right.
Is there a way to set up some sort of? Okay, so if we have if we have a camera in front, will we then be able to
If
track
we have a
that?
camera, we could even put a doorbell.
Yeah, that's what I was
We
wondering.
could even put a doorbell on there in the interim. But it's not fair for somebody to have to ring a doorbell just because they're in a wheelchair.
No, of course
So-
not, more just
Yeah,
better than waiting.
better than
Right now.
nothing. And like I say, I don't know how it's gotten to 2025 without an automatic door. But here we are.
And what's the cost estimate? You got-
It's, we had an estimate about a year ago, and at the time it was about $25,000. So not out of this world, not something that we can't do. We just do have to find the money and get it done.
Okay.
Um, other than that, we had an interview today, which went really, really well. We have 6 interviews lined up this week and next week for our new full-time position that we're hiring for. Today's candidate was great. It was Kathy, Adrian, and myself that interviewed her, and we really liked her. But we have 5 other people, so time will tell. But
Good showing.
it is a good showing, and it was a great start to the interview process to have somebody that we liked so much, knowing that we'd hire her without a qualm. But we'll wait and see what the other 5 bring.
So they're all local?
No, this woman lives in Fitchburg, Mass, but she's from Orford, New Hampshire, and she said her entire family lives in the Upper Valley. So I guess that's local enough.
He's planning to move here, come home.
Coming home. Yeah. Yeah, that's a tricky part of interviewing for a job here at the library, for any library. Housing.
Yeah.
Yeah, people have to be able to move. That's really all, unless anyone has any questions.
Questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Joe, a little feedback on the numbers and what's happening in the treasurer's world.
We're pretty flush, obviously. Look at the bank balances at the bottom, we've got 219,000 at Mascoma. 3,711,000 Morgan Stanley. We're halfway through the year. This report is December 31st. Annual appeal was way ahead of what we budgeted.
Where is it now? Right now, I didn't need to the back of it.
119,000.
And what is the back there?
89. So, we've got all the town, not all the time. Got half the town.
You've got half the town money.
Book sales, $20,000 for 6 months is incredible.
How much?
And that's, well, it's 19,873.
It's a lobby book sale.
Yeah.
We usually do about 40,000.
We usually do about 30. I wonder, a lot of that has to do with was it October that was such a busy month?
Mhm.
Yeah, we had what, like 9,600 people coming to the library in the month of October.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet a lot of that was then.
But that's, thank you, Mac, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
So it's moving in the right direction, that's for sure.
so we've got 280,000 total income for the 6 months. Expenses are 139,000. So we're 82,000 to the good for 6 months. We did transfer 123,000 from the endowment, but that went towards the work on repointing. So that wasn't for operations. It's as usual, the salary and wages is by far the most money spent.
And we should be ahead of the game on that. And as I said in my report, we're 2 people down, did I say?
2.5.
2.5 people down, and we're going to replace it with just 1. So we'd still be 1.5 people down from where we were this time last year.
So a little savings there
Mm-hmm.
without impacting operations
Right,
too harshly.
right.
So this, let me just jump right here, but the new person would be assistant children's librarian and then do tech.
And then do tech.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Oh, what happened to the woman who's down there now?
Nikki?
Yeah.
She's taken another job at she had been working here and at the community campus. Do you know the community campus over by the Rainbow Play School? She's gonna be working full-time over there. And so she has to leave here.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
So everybody got the full report if you have any questions, so. I
need better glasses.
I just think one thing. Is better.
Yeah.
So,
Magnifying glass.
I mean, if we were having difficulties, it'd be different, but.
The news is rosy.
The news is rosy now until town meeting.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Up about,
The town meeting.
town meeting on March 1st. I know there's someone on the town that's gonna complain. Select board is at
So
this,
she's select. board,
she's
yeah.
town select board and she is, I think, gunning for us. Yeah.
What does she think we should be getting?
She thinks we should be using more of our money from our endowment and not asking the town for money. And she thinks we're double dipping for words.
Double the thing how?
I don't know.
She connects it to the town / village issue that we're having. And kind of frames it to say that in a way we're double dipping, but in a way we're falling victim to the fact that if the town and the village was connected and that budget was connected, then we would, then in her mind, the funding would be more logical
That's something that she wants.
that way.
We only get it from the town, right? We can't even from the village.
Well, I spoke to her briefly because it was when so Claire and I both had conversations with Laura Powell, okay? And I was collecting signatures on when the vote for the water company was taking place. I parked myself up at the town hall to get signatures. And she wouldn't sign, and I know her from passing, so she wouldn't sign the document and explain to me very briefly that, as I just said, that was, the path of knowledge and guidance that she was following. And I couldn't really get into it because that wasn't the time or the place, but those were the comments that she made to me.
And I think maybe it's specifically focused on the extra article. I don't know that she's necessarily opposed to the funding that we get. She's opposed to us putting in for more funding
Other organizations do that as well.
all the time.
Yeah, several
And
times.
she wrote an article in her newsletter or a letter. She has her own personal newsletter that she sends out to a listing of people. And in it, she referred to Pentangle and the library. And be cautious when you're voting for these organizations who are already getting funding. And they're asking for extra funding. So be cautious on your vote and don't just vote yes on all the articles. Specifically Pentangle and the Norman Williams Public Library. She wrote.
So.
Claire, can I
I
ask,
don't even know who she is.
Yep.
is there, I mean, again, this is an amateur question by someone who doesn't know anything, but is it worth meeting with her and trying to take her arguments one at a time and neutralizing it ahead of time, or is it not a waste of time?
I don't have a sense of how big her platform is. How many people she's actually influencing by this,
Well, Priscilla, you have a good point.
but it wouldn't hurt.
It could be, now that it's made public with her listserv thing that she does, that, you picked up on,
Mhm.
that it might be that moment in time for you or you and I perhaps to approach her. about it,
Right.
Because now it's made public, and
Right.
if not, only to gather information about what, her concerns are.
And I
Because,
don't mind doing it. I do think it's more of a board. I think it would be something that you would do. I don't mind doing it,
yeah, I'd like
but
to
I
tag
think
team with
coming
you, and
from,
we
yeah,
could grab information from her, and she's never asked for information from us.
no.
So it's also opening the door for communication, which,
I think that's exactly right.
I think you're right, Priscilla. We should, yeah.
I don't.
yeah,
And I wonder how much of a background or a history she has as to how we've been funded in the past.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
don't know
want
who's-
too, that it could be an information session, a mutual exchange of information,
It could
I
be.
voted
Yeah,
for
very
her, I
could be.
think, so I feel like as a constituent, we should engage.
Oh, I did too.
Well, I think that she's an acquaintance of mine. She lives a few houses down from me, and I've spoken to her a few times. I regard her as a passionate individual who is giving her time on the select board, has taken the time to become very well versed on what's happening in town and in the village. And those are all good attributes. So, I think she's doing all the right things as a citizen of the town. But that said,
I think she
now
should
that
be a
she's
little more
publicized-
cautious about throwing specific organizations out there.
Yeah, to me, that's really stepping out there. It's
Right,
not your
if
select
she
board.
had written her letter and not gone to the length of naming names, so to speak, then it maybe would have been a little more palatable, but she didn't.
Right. Because she could have mentioned other businesses.
She could have, there's 20 of them or so that put in for special articles,
It's as much, if not more, than we do.
right?
So, good point, Priscilla, and thank you, Claire, and
So let's work on that.
we'll
We'll,
follow up.
we'll get a meeting with her.
Okay.
I will say just
Alright.
to add in, Laura, I know she's a big fan of the library, like I know her socially. And Rachel actually talked to her about who might be good for the board, and Laura was the one who approached me about meeting with Rachel to chat about whether I would be a good fit. So I do think that I just want to say that in good faith, she loves this library. She wanted me to be a part of the board. And I think bringing her in and giving her more insight and including her in a conversation, I think could only be productive. So.
I would just say, we have a big endowment, but we don't just take whatever we want.
Exactly right.
She understand that.
No. I don't think she has had access to the numbers, and we don't have unlimited funds.
Right.
If we
She
just,
couldn't possibly think that
if
we
we didn't
do.
have town
but-
funding, it could be a real hardship
It would be
for this building.
very.
Just for a little background, in my understanding, is there a reason we separate what we ask for to be in the town budget and from the special article? Why do we have two separate ways? Why don't we just
It's my understanding, and maybe you know more about this than I do,
No, I don't,
but
I'm not that as long as I can.
at one time,
20 years.
I think that we had that $50,000 and the town decreased the funding they gave us. In a year that was, where they were decreasing funding, and they decreased the amount they gave us. And then the alternative was, well, if you really need that money, put in for this special article, and maybe the voters will vote that extra money for you. And we have been doing it that way ever since.
I don't know how influential she is, but it's always a pretty good margin that votes for us to get the money. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
If
is.
she sways, she'd have to sway an awful lot of people.
She would
I
have
don't think
to,
it's very combat. I think your approach, Tom, was good. Just
yeah,
everyone come at
yeah.
it with open minds, open hearts, whatever.
Yeah, she-
I agree with Liz. I
It
don't.
wasn't in the list, she has her own personal newsletter.
Just be kind. Yeah. I think what you said was good. It's like, it seems like, understandably, you don't have access to our financials. We are an open
Send me
book.
that.
Yes.
You're not making any assumptions, you're not making assumptions.
Yeah.
That was a good way to go.
Oh,
She might be working off of that information,
Or whatever.
so.
I wouldn't even say that. I'd just say, we,
No,
we,
you're
we
absolutely
definitely
right.
don't have the information we do. Here's more
Yeah.
data. I think that's.
Yeah, agreed,
Right.
agreed.
I think
Okay.
that's a-
Any more questions for Joe on his report? Okay. Motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Motion for, one second.
Thank you, thank you. All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Thank you. Sorry, who's second?
It's nice to see you here, Pete.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
How did you get here?
I walked.
No, I didn't.
Who has the baby?
Donnie
All right.
is here today.
Moving into other business. Everybody's received the packet, and in the packet, hopefully you saw that attached to the agenda was a biography, if you will, of Denny Weatherall, who we have spoken to about his interest in becoming a board member and also taking on the role of treasurer when Joe steps down in March.
Right.
So is there anybody that did not see the little biography on Denny? Okay,
I
you
didn't get
know,
it. I
you
didn't
did you
it.
see the agenda?
yeah.
I did, yeah.
So if you could look quickly on the agenda, on the second page of
Oh,
the
there's the
agenda,
second page.
In the back there, yeah.
there's
All
it's a short biography for Denny, and he wrote it himself. I took it from the email so that we could get an idea of what Denny's background is and how and why he's in Woodstock and how and why he's interested in the library and being on the board. So what we wanted to do, and just to remind everybody, Denny is right here. It's fun to be spoken about in the third person. Doesn't that really make you feel comfortable? And Denny is here joining in because he is able to do that as a member of the public. So we're happy to have him with us. So what we'd like to do is, we're not, this isn't a Q&A for Denny tonight, although I guess we could if there's a question we can't answer, but we'd like everybody to be familiar with his background and ask any questions, or we can have any conversation about his candidacy to the board at this meeting. And then at the meeting in February, at this meeting, we'll take a motion to move into the February meeting where we will vote Denny onto the board, take a vote for that candidacy. So this is our information part of that process, if everybody follows me. And so I would open by saying that thrilled to have Denny's interest in participating on the board because he's a neighbor of most of ours now. It's great to have him in Woodstock. His background is a financial, among other things, a financial background, which more than qualifies him to fill the big shoes of Joe Boyd as
He's more qualified than me.
and so, and I think myself, Joe and I spoke with Denny and we really had a very nice conversation with him. So we're very excited about his interest. So are there any questions?
I just sort of, Tom and I met with him for about a half an hour. A real gentleman, really nice guy, kind of low key, right? And then Claire came in. And the three of us talked with him. So I thought it was a great conversation. I just think.
Very impressive.
I have a question. I can't tell from your bio, but have you worked on a budget the size of our libraries?
Association in Arlington from a new construction high rise that had taken over from the developer I was a treasurer on and off when I was stationed in the Pentagon, so about 7 or 8 years. I was the board, I kept coming back and they kept putting me back on board, so I did 3 stints. Whenever we were in-house, living in the condo, they put me on board. I wrote the budget, we were $3.5 million a year operation, we had, about 8 or 9 employees, 3 full-time employees. We did all the maintenance, all the sustainment, care and feeding. So from that standpoint, I'm not running a budget that's of this nature. I stood up reserve accounts, the endowment account, which people paid into. I set those rates and then I invested those funds. And that was north of, I finished up north of about 20 million. By the time, high rise, you gotta have money, it's out there, for place things like elevators. So, from a system sustainment standpoint of buildings, I have experience managing people, I have experience, not just in the Navy, but in, small organizations as well. We had to deal with people that we had to have restraining orders against. You had a lot of hiring and firing managers of the building. And I was involved in all of that, so it's sort of,
Yeah,
I have great questions that I have, I think, tipped that box. Yeah.
move the decimal point back 4 places. Thank you.
Bylaws require that we have a month before the vote. So we have a chance to think about it.
Yeah, so next
And-
February we'll vote. Danny will be waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Because usually when we vote, we ask the person to be outside for 5 minutes.
That's true.
In case anybody wants to say anything, which nobody ever does. Then we vote, and then you can come in and you officially part of the board. So that's almost.
Well, Joe, you said it so well. What we will do is accept a motion to add that vote to next month's agenda.
I'll make it.
Okay? Is there a second? Joe. Donna, thank you. All in favor of that motion to vote at the next meeting?
I,
Okay. Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you very much. So you're not leaving now, Denny, but we'll see you next month. At the meeting, what we'll do is coordinate with you. The attendance, so we just typically we do that, so then we'll invite you into that meeting, but we'll go through the hard stuff first.
Perfect.
Just try to haggle through the no votes.
Arm twisting.
So, okay, thank you very much. Really excited. We had a good conversation with Denny and we were trying to squeeze out some national secrets about the Navy, but he was
Opened up like a.
yeah,
Yeah.
answered in the appropriate way. So, okay, next on the agenda. Joe is the town rep. So the board has a town rep and that has always been an association that the town has had with the board. And I think that what I want to say is that historically, based on what I've read in the bylaws, is it gives the town a connection, if you will, to
Right.
what's happening with the board in as much as there's.
$200,000, so they wanted them to say.
Yeah, so in as much as there's any two-way conversation between the board and the town, this is what the town rep does and speaks on behalf of the board to answer questions or provide information to the town about what we are doing. It's coming to an end for Joe in March. And so we are looking to appoint a new town rep individual. And through the conversations with the executive committee, Elisa has volunteered to take on that role.
But that was because I was afraid nobody else wanted it. So if there's anybody here that would be interested in that role, I'm happy to share. So
I'll just say, I've been doing it for 3 years. I've never answered a question to the town. Nobody's ever asked me anything. So I
It doesn't really require a lot of time, but if there's somebody that has an interest in anyone
That's
to
fine.
do that. Yeah.
Zero time.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're not showing books, so probably fine.
so we have Elisa as a volunteer. Is there anyone else who has just a driving urge to be the town rep for the board?
it's a 1-year commitment, so
It's a great launching place for your political career in Woodstock.
there you go.
Start working town hall.
Funny, I've never heard that.
You ready? Please.
Well, there it is. So
It's all you.
you're technically right now, you will be on that list of volunteers and
In theory, you'd think the town would say, this is the person we want, but they've never done it. So we tell them,
It's the town.
huh?
Who's the town in this
The
case?
town.
Select board.
It's like, okay, that's a.
Select board.
Eric Duffy and company.
Yeah, it's like, do
It's like a John
any
Grisham novel.
individual? No.
Yeah. They work with that.
I assume so.
The corporation would like to meet with you next week.
I've never done anything, so it's easy.
Okay, thank you. Okay. That's good that there.
Why my term is gonna end in March is because it's after the annual meeting of the town, they want somebody.
Right.
So, Kenny, just so you, I want to sit down with you at some point to go over the investment portfolio. Also, we invited you to come to that meeting if you'd like to. Sure. Okay,
Right.
it's next, when is it?
Wednesday.
February the 12th.
Mhm.
A couple weeks out. Okay.
Okay, thanks. I'll add that to the
But
notes.
just real quick, we have investment portfolio. We really have 3 accounts at Morgan Stanley. And one of them is the true investment, we call that the endowment, and that's. Sure, yeah, yeah,
3.7, is it?
that's the total of the 3. So we've got, yeah, 3.1, and we've got another one that's called the investment account, which is all very short-term stuff. And then we have a building fund, and the reason we get a lot of money that isn't designated. Sure. So if we throw it in the endowment, you kind of can't touch it, other than taking the 5%. So we've left some more or less available, and when we figure the formula, we don't include those other 2 funds in the formula. Just include the endowment,
For remaining 5%.
the 5% formula. Because I mean, if you did, you know, kind of cheat. You double dipping.
5% is the max, right?
Yeah,
So you
And-
maybe less.
right. Well, we haven't taken any of the operations yet this year. And I mean, with the money in the bank, we may not
We
have,
might not need to this year.
I mean,
Um,
there's one more slug that they'll give us in February, I think, right?
Yeah,
And that's,
yeah,
Yeah.
it should be coming in February.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so.
So we don't get it all in one lump sum.
No, it comes in
They
2
kind of
separate
break it up.
installments.
Jane has to ask for it, right?
Right, and I'm trying to think of when. I know the one comes in September. And I do not remember when the other one comes.
Seems to me it's February, but it'll come when we ask for it.
Thank you, Joe. So yes, so we have a meeting on February 12th with Morgan Stanley. That's our quarterly investment review meeting.
If anybody'd like to come to that, more than welcome to. There's 2 or 3 members of the public that aren't board members that are officially members of that committee. I will probably stay on that,
Okay.
and I'll work on the budget for next year, starting in April. Which is also a couple. Cool, is that okay?
I forwarded that info to Michael as well, because he wasn't on the email.
Which,
I not had him. Okay, yeah, I added Jack and Michael.
Yeah, he goes on that committee now as well.
My bad. Okay, all right, Joe, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, next up on the agenda is a conversation about fundraising. Money night, yes. Monday night. So, in terms of fundraising, what we're proposing that the board and Claire embark on is a creative way to approach our fundraising and maybe open a new chapter for the way we do it. So we've had conversations in the last year, maybe half a year, about how has our fundraising gone? What have we done historically? What works? What hasn't worked? What do we do right now that generates incoming funds? And then how is sort of what is the, what's the culture and the dynamic of Woodstock and the surrounding towns these days? And how do people respond to fundraising? So what we learned was it was a longer conversation than what we had embarked on in these past little snippet, meetings that we've had. And what we'd like to do is open up the idea of an introduction of a focus group that is focused on fundraising. And I think it's a great idea. And there's what we'd like to do is find some creative individuals to join this group of, we think, maybe 4 or 5 individuals who will sort of take the reins and help us all sort of think through this process that we're trying to think through. And so with that said, I'm going to toss the ball over to Elisa, who is not taking charge because it's just a focus group, not a committee. And then I'm going to toss it to you to
Great.
maybe speak a little more about that.
That's perfect. It's very good overview, and it sounds so fun, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like a group you want to be a part of? But the idea was reimagining the gala, reimagining our big fundraising event has been the gala, which, as Claire can attest to, requires a lot of resources, a lot of time. It's kind of not working as well as it once did, in that our costs are much higher. The inn charges us much more than they did typically in the past, so we're not clearing as much money. It feels like it's kind of a dying model, and we're looking for some fresh ideas that might bring in younger families, new patrons of the library, but maybe at a lower lift in terms of, maybe it doesn't have to be an annual event, maybe it could be, something that we do quarterly or something like that. But we need some new fundraising models. We've talked about the library being flush and with lovely endowment, but the fact of the matter is, we are subject to some of the whims of the town. We don't know what's going to happen next year. So, and it's an aging building. We need, to keep it up. So we're just looking for, it doesn't have to be board members. If you have people in the community in mind that are, are a little creative or have done this kind of thing a lot, or have, experience with that might want to just sit down and we could just, I'll buy drinks at the inn and we can get some ideas together and see what we can come up with. I'm not asking that crew to be the people that then do all the work, but we just need a group of, fresh thinkers who have some energy for some new models.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, that is perfectly said.
So we're not going to,
We're not gonna put everybody on.
you don't have to raise your hand now. This is a no pressure deal.
Screenplay out, yeah.
But we all have each other's emails, so think on it, ask questions. We can talk about it now a little bit. I know we've got some amazing people in this group. Claire, you've got some amazing, interesting people on the staff. Maybe it would be fun to combine.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think that we should bring a couple of staff people in on this. I can think of a couple anyway, but I'm not going to throw them under the bus and mention their names before I've spoken with them.
That would be like we could do a collaboration.
Right.
It's two sort of passionate groups of people.
Yeah.
So,
Elisa, I'd be happy to be part of that.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. And I'll be the point person if you guys want to email me ideas of friends. I mean, I'll contact them. I'm happy to reach out to people. So if you want to slip me a name and I will and make an introduction, I'm happy to follow up with them. But just put your thinking caps on who might be have some energy for this. So we're
What's the
doing
next-
lots of
Ask
discussion.
a quick thing. Do you think somebody needs to have fundraising experience or marketing experience, or just sort of like, oh, I have some ideas, even though I'm, I don't have a professional knowledge in this area.
I think at this stage of the game, we just want people with ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's figure out if they're viable or not, or, but we just need all ideas, and on the board to.
absolutely. Yeah, experts, non-experts.
We have a lot of little small scale fundraisers and events going on in the library throughout the year. And those are wonderful for community building and building a great reputation for the library, but they don't necessarily translate into funds coming into the library.
I think we're all too polite to ask for money, is what we've kind of decided. And we have to be, we can't take anything for granted with funding. We want to do the best that we can to endow this incredible operation in this building with as much funding as we can to carry it forward in the far distant future. So that's a part of it. And maybe it's part of it is, Priscilla, to answer your question, sort of like a self-inspection of how do we do this and how do we go about it and what works with our personality as a library, because we're not a senior center, we're not the rec center. So maybe it's I think part of the mission for this fund focus group would be to help us find our voice with what is a very friendly audience. I mean, nobody doesn't like the library, and so we're
Except for Laura, probably, yeah.
There are a lot of people who don't necessarily have the library top of mind.
yeah,
And we just need to remind them that there's a lot of people with some money that
yeah,
they're just not thinking of the library.
and so
They do that, and we're not sure the message that we have to raise money on our own as a library has gotten to people.
Exactly.
Just assume.
They just assume we have it.
Library, they never has to raise money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the message. Yeah.
And we have such amazing programming here, thanks to you all, and it builds such a fan base.
Right.
And we need those people to be thinking about being patrons of the library that they need to support, because they don't want that programming to disappear. We want to have, so.
And that's why that programming is so important, that we do it and that we do it really well. But as I said, that in itself is not bringing in the funds.
Yeah, we're not just books. And to your point, there's municipal libraries and the independent libraries, and we're not municipal.
Right.
So we are independent, which is,
Everybody, I see that.
Yeah.
we are 100% publicly funded, because even the money coming from the town comes from taxes. So that's our thing. So that,
I was on a team a number of years ago for one of the other not-for-profits in town. And they had this same issue. And the purpose of the team was to do exactly the same thing we're talking about. One of the things they started with is events, and decided events were not going to get them where they needed to get to. Events are good, and then they tail off over time. So what became clear is that a whole different approach needed to be taken, and the approach needed to be taken to find people who had the resources and the interest to donate money if they could understand why the library needed it. Okay? And then it became a matter of putting together that information and the list of people and literally approaching them to do this. Okay. That is now one of the most successful not-for-profits in the town today. And I don't need to mention who it is, because I think all of you are guessing exactly who it is that has that capability. I can certainly approach the chairman of that group to come be part of our team because he approached me to be part of his team. Okay. But I think it's two things. Number one, there's no problem with more events, events for fundraisers. But it's not the only thing that can get us there. And we need to be looking at what people need to have in order to take the money out of their pockets and give it to us, in order to be successful in that. So I'd be willing to share that with the group. And as I say, maybe approach others who've been part of that in the past to now be part of that for us.
Good
Yeah,
thoughts, Jack.
that's what we need.
I would suggest that Jack and Elisa, you guys get together and hash that out.
Great. South Woodstock contingent.
Yeah, we'll meet on Matt's deck. Okay.
All right, well, thank you. That's our fun focus group conversation. Any other questions about that? Okay. Before we move to the end of the meeting, members of the public who are present officially have the opportunity to speak up or ask questions or make any comments that they might want to make.
No questions.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. It's nice that you came in person and nice to see you. The next meeting is going to be on February 24th. Okay. As per usual. Anything else from anybody?
Thank you,
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Okay, all in favor.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
The Jack will motion to adjourn.